So you have a voice and you know it, right? But these nagging questions, what if no one understands me? What if it's worth spending time to really get my voice honed down? Will it really matter? Questions like that I can relate to because for 26 years, I struggled to fight for my voice in an abusive relationship. He passed away, and immediately afterwards, I still need to pick the pieces up. That's why I'm so excited about our guest. I picked the pieces up with my mental therapist, and I'm so excited to introduce you, Britt. We just got connected on Michelle Tufford's No More Dry Ground. And Britt, the minute you showed up, it's like, whoo, we got to listen to this girl. This
Well,
is, yeah, this is Britt Skinner. She's a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. She specializes in a lot of things. Let me just say that. But we're going to touch on how she touches on anxiety and depression, if that's all right, Britt. But first, Britt, welcome to the Stuck No More Voices podcast.
thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to talk to you and your audience today and just
Yeah,
like be of service, really.
that's awesome because, I like to just dive right in when people are thinking about their voice. And let me ask you this. Sometimes your voice really is your identity. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think more often than not, it points to how we actually view ourselves.
Ooh, wow. And of course, that relates to identity. The more you know who you are. So, how you view yourself. So, when someone says, is it worth spending time to work on my voice? What would you say to them about that?
Well, if it's my therapy room, I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. I'm really gonna wanna know what the thoughts are, what the beliefs are behind that, and I would challenge your audience to actually ask themselves that, like,
Yeah.
why do I think that? Or where is that coming from? Or have I learned that from somewhere else or someone else?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and what I could say without asking those questions now is absolutely it is worth
Yeah.
you have a message, you have a God-given testimony
Mm,
experience. You are here on purpose for a purpose. And when you silence yourself, the enemy wins.
yeah. I asked God after my husband passed because I was always fighting for my voice, Britt, literally. I
Mm.
had retired from radio, of all things, and then had this span of time where I just knew that I knew that I had a voice. Now, I first started out in the closet with my podcast and then realized I got to get out of the closet. So I can tell you some of the feelings I was feeling, which is very much like, is it worth it? It is worth it. But can I tell you what God said to me, why I was able to fight? And you can
Yeah.
speak to this, okay? It was about a year after, and I was looking back on those last few years were really tough, although I stayed in there. And I said, God, why was I consistently fighting for my voice? If it wasn't YouTube, it was Facebook Live. Back then, it was my podcast. And you know what God said? He said, you were fighting and winning your voice because you were creating the way God creates.
Hmm.
So, do you have anything thoughts to that? Because you're obviously a biblical therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to hear a little more like what does that mean
Okay.
to you when he said that to you? Like what happened in your spirit? What happened in your soul?
Okay, that's probably a good question because I didn't really fill in the blanks. When I was struggling, I journaled a lot
Hmm.
and journaled a lot. And then I can't explain it to you, but it wasn't conjured up. But there were some days I was so overwhelmed, and then I'd hear I love John 15, and I'd hear God say, listen to the vine dresser. And then I started to write these things down, what he was telling me. And then, of course, afterwards, the good journalist cleaning them up. And I released them on Facebook, just like, oh, I wonder if anyone can relate to this. Oh my goodness. So that's how I was creating the way God created. I was listening to the vine dresser and he was speaking to me in my spirit by the spirit, just like, as simple phrases but I made them into paragraphs and wrote 3 devotionals. So that's what I think God was saying. You were creating the way God created. And I think another thing, can I say, whenever I went live, I did not speak from my wounds. No one would
Hmm.
ever know. And one thing I teach in the Stuck No More Voices podcast is we teach from the overflow. So I think on an early time in the marriage, I was learning to speak from the overflow. I just didn't realize I had words from the overflow. So does that give you a little more clues? Because I think
Yeah,
someone's listening, they can relate to that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that God is always talking if we slow down and listen, that God created in process, which is what I'm hearing when I hear your story. It was a process. It wasn't um I absolutely believe that God heals in miracles.
Mm,
Let me just get that
no,
very clear. But
but
I also know that he heals in process, and that's a lot of my work too is helping people in the
yeah,
process. And I think, I go back to scripture where it says more than you could ask or imagine, that he would give you
mm,
more than you could ask or imagine.
yeah,
And I think that when people are praying for healing, when they're praying to get out of these situations, or they're praying um, for whatever that stuck piece is that is stopping them from sharing their voice,
yeah,
they're really like digging in um, and they're hoping for like that one thing. But when God is
yeah.
healing in process, he is giving you more than you could ask or imagine. He's
That's
healing
so
parts of
good.
you that you don't even know are broken.
So good. And a lot of times when I think of process, I think about that's your relationship with God or walking with Him. So the process of step by step. So you're going to have to rip off, let's take number one, anxiety. How would you
Mm.
walk someone ripping off that anxiety and just, I guess a lot of it is them talking to you, but what would be some key bolder points for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, my approach is very similar in a lot of ways when I start with someone, whether it's
Okay.
anxiety, depression, or codependence is the other piece. Although codependence can kind of fit under anxiety because a lot of times, really what codependence is anxiety, but in relationship form. So looking
So
to others
good.
to know that you're okay, or trying to like keep the status quo, feeling like everything falls on you, like you have to like be the savior in a lot of situations. But
Yeah.
that really is like almost like a sub add on to anxiety. Some people experience it, some people don't. But those are the three places that I really dive deeply in and have spent years in my career
Mm.
refining my skills there. But what I ultimately come back to is what scripture says in 2 Corinthians
Wow.
10:5. And it says, take every thought captive and make it
Mm.
obedient to Christ. And so a
So
lot of
good.
what I teach in my course, Mindset Miracles, and in the therapy room one-on-one with people, is like, okay, well, how do I actually take a thought captive? How do I
Yeah.
make it obedient to Christ? And then how
Mm.
do I really blend that also with like neuroscience and like your
Yeah. Love
brain.
that.
Yeah, it shows like, so Proverbs talks a lot about neuroscience. When you understand neuroscience and you read Proverbs, like,
Yeah,
oh, it makes total sense. Like God has been saying this from the beginning, but science is just catching up. It's like, okay,
I
now we can put
agree.
our fingers on it outside of scripture. And
Yeah.
that is actually a lot of my work. Is it's evidence-based.
Mhm.
I'm a licensed therapist. I'm
Yeah.
trained in this. I know what I'm talking about. There's research to back it. But really, at the end of the day, scripture's been saying it the whole time
So
before
well
we
said.
had this research.
Yeah, I love that because my therapist is heavy on neuroscience. She's a godly woman, but I think when people understand the rewiring is just renewing, the deconstruction is just like maybe confession. You said something really interesting that I've never really quite thought. You said the word codependence. So I see, as you say that, immediately in my mind, I'm the one trying to keep the peace. Codependence. I'm not expecting responsibility on the other side. I just took the responsibility. So I didn't. That's just mind-boggling how that codependence does interlock with anxiety. Because I walked on eggshells for most of my life, and
Yeah.
that's codependence.
Yeah.
Wow. I really appreciate you bringing that down because I think a lot of people, you know, it's hard. I get a lot of emails and messages from people who maybe are locked in a bad marriage, controlling, abusive. And the number one thing is, find your lane. Don't give up, and it's hard to stand up to someone who is so controlling. But I think as you learn to take responsibility for yourself and they have to take responsibility for themselves. I think that's a big one. I used to have a saying, on a good day, I do well to manage me. try to manage
Mm.
everyone else. Here's one that's it's on trauma and the nervous system. Now, I really believe that having a safe nervous system is so key. But why don't you explain what I mean by safe nervous system? Because you're the therapist, you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think can I tell you what I think you're saying, and then you can
Sure.
confirm? Because I don't wanna put words in your mouth either
Oh, you're so sweet.
if it means something else to you. I think what
Okay.
you're saying is like, our a lot of times when we're in those high stress, or high pain point times in our lives, and people mean well, but they're like, "Just pray," or "I'll
Oh,
just pray."
yeah.
And,
So bad.
you're which like, prayer is powerful, and I don't wanna take that away, uh, but I also believe that God has given you a body and we have
Mm,
to calm that body. Like when the noise is so loud in your head, when the noise is so loud in your body, when you're feeling like fight or flight, maybe your throat is feeling like tight, your chest is feeling tight, you have tension in your traps, your neck, like, maybe you're getting headaches, maybe you have stomach aches. Like your body is telling you things. Your body has a alarm system built in, and what it's telling you is that I need to feel safe and I need to come down off this ledge.
wow. You're listening to Britt Skinner. If you're listening on the podcast, you nailed that exactly. And you know what part of my healing was? I mean, I still, even though he's passed, there was so much I needed healing. I had to find someone who I felt my nervous system felt safe with. And that
Mm,
was 3 years ago. And that was my therapist coach, one of my best friends now. But I felt safe. My nervous system did. So as we go through, I remember just this past month, I got sick and I was taking my son to school and I was working overtime. I'm also a Christian radio announcer, by the way, and everyone was getting the flu. And it was like at the end of the month, even after I went to a doctor, it was like my nervous system got overloaded. I mean, I was like
mm,
back to basics, but I think when you can find that place where you take care of, it's okay to take care of yourself, right? It's okay to
yeah.
take good care of yourself. And I just think I'm so glad you said what you did with the nervous system because a lot of people don't know how to break that down and thought, oh, that's why and just between you and me, which we all both believe, this place that I get peace, the place where my nervous system calms down is every morning. It's coffee and Jesus. Oh, Jesus and
Mm,
coffee. I mean, you got to have that place of his presence, and that's
yeah.
why I'm so big about even creating content of where are you going to get unstuck. If I think about it, when I was writing those things way back then, I was in the Word. Even though I battled what I was battling, I was determined to get in the Word. And
Mm,
so, even if someone's listening and they're going through some things, still His presence. I'm not trying to slap a Bible verse on you, but
yeah.
there's a big difference between that and talking presence of God.
I
Wow.
just wanna
Talk
add
to me.
one I
Oh,
wanna
this
add
is
something.
conversational, please.
So, for one, this when people start therapy, usually therapists start with the coping skills, right? That is why my freebie is the free coping skills guide, that everyone can have access to, and it's like 5 pages, 6 pages
Mm,
of like, all my favorite coping skills, so you can try and practice what works best for you, and that is like a way to kinda just like come back to the basics, learn this with
okay.
me, but, even further than that, what I like to do in my quiet time, because same thing, Jesus and coffee in the morning, that is my like, I know
Yeah.
when I have like overslept or things are like, crazy in the morning or something,
Yeah.
I didn't get that time, like, oh, I can feel it the rest of my day. But one thing that a mentor of mine
Yeah.
told me that has just been so sweet over the years is that all of what we are living in is God's imagination.
Mm.
And we are made in the image of God. He gave us our imagination.
Oh, so good.
Engage it. So when I am in prayer to help with the racing thoughts, to help with the like, oh, my to-do list, I got to do this, I got to do that. And there's lots of different ways that I drill down into that. One of the ones that I love and go back to very often is visualizing where Jesus
Mm.
is in the room with me. Like if
So
he were
good.
sitting next to me on the couch or across from me in the love seat or,
So
like
good.
sometimes I visualize myself in the palm of God's hand. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just sitting there at crisscross applesauce talking to my dad, like, you know, and I will tell you, like, that helps with keeping those thoughts out, but it
Oh,
also helps
so
calm
good.
my body. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I am always in the palm of my dad's hand.
So good. We will link to these free guides, by the way, if you're listening and like, I want to get my hand on that. You know what? When I have troubles going to sleep, I imagine myself lying in his palm. So that's kind of
Mm.
cool. So it's like brain techniques or just putting yourself mentally in a place that you're safe. And that now I know what that's like when you got bullets coming all over you and it's a control and abuse but God is still my refuge. I could still say, but I'm still here, you God. I don't know how to, God, back then it wasn't that far, but I didn't know about narcissism. I didn't know that there was, until the latter part of the years, I'm realizing, oh, you know what happened to me? Maybe someone can relate to this or they're feeling this. The last 5 years of my time last 5 years, I would get up and I would feel this heavy feeling. I'd have a good night's sleep. And Britt, I had to make a choice. This is where I tell you I fought for my voice. I could either go back to bed or I could get myself up and get in the word. And I always got up, but I would look at the bed and say, I just want to. But what I don't think I realized that those were trauma effects deep in my body, that my body was tired of fighting. So
Yeah.
let's say I went to the word, but let's say someone can relate to that. Some traumas got trapped, and it's to the point where it's affected. They don't even want to speak. They want to like hide behind their pain. That's a deep one, but what would you say to that?
Yeah. I mean, I always would recommend getting in therapy, right? Like, that is like,
Sure.
I think that a lot of times there's some bad theology out there about going to therapy. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to find the right therapist. Actually,
Sure.
research will show the most
Yeah.
important indicator for long-term
Right.
success in therapy is actually the relationship that you have with your therapist. It's not the
Oh,
diagnosis, it's not the intervention, it's the relationship that you have, because healing happens in relationship. Healing happens when people
oh,
feel safe, when they feel heard, when they have a voice. That person, I'll tell you, like, as a therapist, like, I'm all in on my clients. Like, when you're
so
in
good.
front of me and this is our time together, like, that's it for me. Like, you and me, and we're gonna walk
Mm,
it out and we're gonna talk. I'm gonna be that safe place for you.
so
And so
good.
I think, like, the value of therapy just can't be understated. And if
Right.
you just, like, aren't ready for that step right now, like, that's okay. But
Yeah.
go to God with it. Have your
Yeah.
therapy time with God, talk to
Yeah.
him. Use your voice there. Use your voice with you and God first. Let him
Mm,
be your safe place.
yeah. I think everyone should be in therapy. I mean, I'm sorry. I think what you just described is you're very much like my therapist because I found a safe place. I remember in the beginning and after I'd been with her for about a year, I said, it says you only meet with me for an hour, but you were giving me 2 hours. She said, oh, Dee, you needed to talk. You needed to talk. So, I mean, then I record my therapy sessions. So if in case, so I don't have to worry about taking notes and stuff. And then I would say, oh, I wish I would have shut up and just listened to you. She's like, no, you need it. So now, I'm going on 3 years later. When she begins to talk, I'm like, I may even take notes, even though I know I'm recording it. I say all that to say, wow, to get with someone like Britt, who's going to go all in with you. And you do need to do your homework. I tried, it wasn't therapy. I tried, to make sure I don't hurt. I tried like Christian counseling
Mm.
and she, after 4 sessions, she goes, I think you're good. It's time to go. My kids went ballistic. They're like, 3 months, but that was a different method. That
Mm.
was like inner healing, which I believe in inner healing. So when we're talking therapy, we are really talking you get one-on-one with someone who's gonna go all in, like Britt said. I love that, and I love how you said you give them space. And so we're just putting a plug in for therapy right there because I would not be the person that I am now if I didn't have therapy. So let me ask you one more question that often points to a trauma or nervous system response, and is often misunderstood. And I am very big on podcasting. I have a Stuck No More Voices Academy where we teach from the overflow. But this, when someone says this to me, I kind of got an idea what's going on, but I'm going to ask you. So they say, why do I freeze or shut down when I try to speak? Or for some of them, when I turn the mic on, why do I shut down?
Mm. It could be a lot of things. It could be fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of people.
The imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome for sure. Anxiety of what could be, what I call it, like one of the tools in the enemy's playbook is fortune telling, like assuming that you know the future and that it's going to be
Wow.
bad. So you're going to put this out there and you're going to get
Mm.
all this bad backlash from the internet or whoever is watching it or listening to it. And I think that those thoughts keep us very stuck, and we got to break
Yeah.
those chains.
So good. And that's the motto. Stuck No More Voices is my motto. So thank
Yeah.
you for saying that. I think for some too, like I said, the imposter syndrome, or others, we're just talking social media, which by the way, you rock it on Instagram. You'll have to I'll have all the links at the notes here, but I think a lot of times they call it algorithm tripped up. Oh no, I only have 3 people who like that. And you don't know how many walked by and just looked at it and didn't, just because they didn't like it doesn't mean. So I see that happen with numbers and all that is self-worth based on not, if you know who you are in Christ, like I started this out, you feel voiceless. A lot of times you just don't know who you are and whose you are. And that in itself is a whole nother thing that you can do with your therapist. You can talk about your identity in Christ. Um, and I just don't. I love dogs. It's okay. I just don't ever want to be like slap a Bible verse or do something religious like, well, you got to do these 5 steps. Do you know what I'm saying? To really help someone who is freezing or they don't think that they're worthy of taking up space. My heart aches for them because I understand. But so much of that is rooted in anxiety and all other issues that you're like you said, you gotta ask them a lot of questions. I love that. You're not giving any pat answers, but it shows you how good of a therapist you are. So I'm gonna ask you in a roundabout way, how do you get to the point? Now you're a biblical therapist. So where do you get to the point where you bring in their identity, or is it so inclusive in what you do that you don't have to name it identity? Or, but I just think that's such a key for transformation.
Absolutely. I mean, so the way that I structure my therapy sessions, uh, I used to be a teacher before I was a therapist. So I'm all about teaching the skills. I'm all about like teaching you the why behind what we're doing, like very much
Oh,
all
good.
these pieces. But I structure my sessions where usually they come in the first 5-10 minutes, we're checking in, how are things going, bring me up to speed on anything that happened that is like something you want to talk about.
Mm,
Sometimes that there are big things that happen and that then takes us a therapy session and we really need to
sure.
focus on that. But a lot of times it's doing that check-in, then we're learning some skills, and then we're reviewing the homework. I definitely give homework because
So
like
good.
50 minutes is not enough time like for the
Right.
week. So we would do that, and then at the end we're always praying. And when we're
Wow.
praying, I'm bringing their request before God. I'm bringing them as a person before God.
Yeah.
I'm going to war with these people, for these
Oh, I
people,
love that.
because
Yeah.
we're in a spiritual battle, and
Hmm.
anxiety, depression, codependence, like all those things are spiritual as well. And so I'm talking right in my prayer about,
Mm.
I know how much you love this person. I know how much that they mean to you. I know you know every single hair on their head. God, I know that you're in this journey. I know
Mm.
that you're walking with them. So not only am I repeating that for them to hear, but I'm walking it out with them. And
Wow.
I'm also going before God and I'm thanking him for his role in this. And
Yeah.
and when
Sure.
I talked to you earlier about like how do we make that thought obedient to Christ? Well, part of that is going to scripture, and it's, what does God say about this? What does God say about you?
Mm.
Well, he says that you are his daughter. He says that you are chosen and appointed to bear fruit, that you're
Come
here
on.
on purpose, that you're here
Yeah.
this time, this very year, this very day. You are here on purpose.
So good. Get me fired up. You know, I had to go down to the one thing that obviously all these other things came from. I'm just sharing honestly. And my one thing was, I'm not enough.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of uh, women struggle with that. I am just not enough. For me, it was like whatever I cook, it's not good enough. Whatever I clean, it was just a conglomerate of different things. But when you get to the root of something, like you have someone like you who's walking you through and having you do your homework, and then you get to the root of it, and then you get to peel that onion layer off and say, there may be other onion layers, but that to me was the beginning of my healing, really diving deep into that, doing my homework, being honest. I mean, it would always be like, uh, how do you feel, T? And I'm like, it would take me like, I had the go around the mountain person. I would take her all around the mountain. Then you get to the, how do I feel? Well, let me tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
But feeling is healing though. I had to realize that because I was a stuffer. So
Yeah.
to be able to have someone like you who really, in a way, you get in their face, you get in their stuff because they hired you and that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
That is so refreshing to hear that from you. I have to say thank you. Go ahead.
Oh,
You
honestly, God put me on this path. God put me in this profession. I am just doing my kingdom calling, and I'm
I
honored
love
to
it.
do it. I'm honored to walk with each and every person. I don't forget a
Oh,
single client. I still pray for people I haven't seen in 5,
mm,
10 years.
I love
Um,
that.
but that being said, I just wanna speak to, because when you said the not being enough, I mean, man, I see that so much, and I just wanna speak to the woman who heard that and felt
Yeah.
it in her body, who really was like, "Man, that's me. I'm there." My question to you, without bringing you into my therapy room, without talking to you about it all, my question to you in this very moment is, who are you trying to be enough for?
Okay.
Because you
Phew.
are always enough for your Father.
That's for someone listening right now. So who do you not feel enough to? But when you realize you're his much loved daughter, you are enough.
Mhm.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, the
I can
yardsticks
preach.
of this world will always tell you that you're not enough. There's
Yeah.
always striving, there's perfectionism, we're setting the bar way too high. We're telling people that they need to be this, that, and everything else. And in reality, like, is God actually telling you that?
Yeah.
What is he
Don't scroll. Stop the scroll. There's too many
Yeah.
AI perfect things now. I love AI, but so sometimes you just got to stop the scroll because you look. I mean, especially on the weekend, maybe you're a little down, and then you see family happy, perfect here and perfect woman here. Wow, she's doing really good in her business. Oh, look at her podcast. No, 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 no. God made you specifically for a
It's so
purpose.
funny that you said that, because in my stories today, I actually, in my stories on Instagram, so I know we are
Yeah,
gonna link it, but if you're listening and you want it now, it's at biblical therapist with an underscore at the end. In my stories today, I was talking about what I do, because when we just live in a world where, like, stop the scroll would be great, and also sometimes, we find ourselves back there. And so what I like to do is, like, work within that framework, right? And so what I was telling my people on stories is, like, save the things that are speaking into the places in your heart that need to be healed. When you see something come across and you're like, oh, that's good, I'm going to need to remember that. I have a folder in my Instagram saves, and it's called Faith Over Fear. And
ooh,
every time I find something that I'm like, oh, I'm going to need that, like, I put it in that folder. And on the days that I myself, like, because we all have them, are feeling like, oh, I'm afraid of the future, or I'm worried about this test result, or I don't know how this is going to go, I go back to that folder and I look at those, because
so
maybe
good.
stop the scroll isn't possible for you, but
Yeah,
scrolling what you have picked, so what has spoken to your heart, is 100% possible.
I love that. I went on your story. You have a sweet husband. I
I
can
love that,
tell.
man. He is so
I
good to
can
me.
tell. You guys really chilled good together. I can tell that. I did see that. So good. Is it biblical therapist? I'm gonna link it, but yeah, biblical therapist.
Yeah.
Instagram.com/ biblical therapist. I'm a big Instagram follower. Girl,
Yeah.
like
There's an
I
underscore.
checked you out and I'm like 33.5 followers. Come on. I realize maybe not all three but that's a great reach. Praise God for that, because I really believe that you can. That's part of my thing with the podcast. You have a voice and someone needs to hear it. And sometimes it's your worst day, but you're obedient. Maybe it's
Mm,
just to get in front of that camera on Instagram, but you're obedient. And I think obedience beats everything. And when it comes to your voice, sometimes you just got to be obedient to God and go back to the basics. What did God say about me? And that's why for me, even to speak, whatever we're going to speak, on stage, in a podcast, in one on one with someone. I think if we don't go from the overflow, what are we pouring from? Are we pouring from a deep well that's been seasons, that's gone through it? Are we pouring through the alligator infested fungi pond? We get to choose where we renew our mind. And when I say quiet time too, I can be a little religious about it because I've been doing it for so long. But it really is when I say Jesus and coffee, sometimes I just sit with my coffee and listen. I'm a big fan of YouVersion, the Bible app. Reason being is I had cataracts I couldn't see for much of my marriage, and so that's how I read my Bible, because I could see it on the U version. But even though I got my cataracts, I can see. There's like this one. It's called Time with God. It's a little square, and I swear it's like in therapy. I swear they use. Swear I keep saying that. It's that they use, like, if I was to sit with God in like a session, it'd be like, because this is your time. It's all about you. You get to be honest. And sometimes they say, imagine yourself sitting with Jesus, and so I've been doing that for like 10 years, but I love it because there's a stillness. There's
mm,
not this, okay, I got to read my 10 chapters. Oh my goodness, that's so draining. I mean, we've all been there, but it's
mhm.
like that gentleness. They give you some verses, and they even have this one section where you can write your prayer requests. So a lot of times I have like a year's worth of prayer requests. I don't look at them all, but sometimes I really need to dig deep, because what is affecting me? It's because I've been praying about that, and I'm still going to pray about that, whatever the issue was. So I say all that encapsulated in, when we say your quiet time, we're really talking about presence. And from that presence of God is where things get healed, visions come, dreams come, and you get to walk it out from that place. And you're not, it's from the overflow. So can you relate to that? What I just said? I just kind of rambled, but I'm just so passionate about it.
No, I love it, and I love what you say when you're like, "Well, here's my issue with the word quiet time," and expound on that. Um, one thing that I myself am also doing is just doing this thing called the Holy Work method. Have you heard of it?
Ooh, no, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so you spend like a minute just grounding yourself. So
Right.
if anyone does grab my guide, like there's a lot of grounding techniques in there that you can do, but
Mm,
some breath work, some,
yeah.
noticing your five senses, like whatever it is that is grounding you, but take a minute and really come into the present moment, feel your body, feel where you're at. Then we move into 2 minutes of gratitude, and you're just
Mm,
reflecting on the day before. I always do my time with God in the morning, so I always
yeah.
reflect the day before. But if you're doing it at night, reflect that day and write down
Yeah.
3 to 4 things that you're grateful for that day
Mm,
or
mm,
from the day before. And then we go into what's called like the epidermis layer. So you're like
yes.
just trying to peel back those pieces. I hear it when you're talking about your own therapy. I hear you're saying you go around the mountain, you're like bringing it back. We're just like, just dump, brain dump. Don't
Yes.
censor, don't like
Yep.
check things, like don't
That's
reread
right.
it. Just let it out.
Yeah.
Just write everything. So I set a timer on my phone, and it's supposed to be for like 10 minutes. And
Right.
I just write every thought that comes to mind, every fear,
So
everything I'm
good.
like wrestling with in that 10 minutes, right? Like I'm writing a letter to God.
Mm,
And then I go into 2 minutes of
Okay.
just sitting before God, and I say,
Wow.
"In light of everything I've written, Lord, what is it that you want me to
Ooh.
know?" And
Okay.
I close my eyes and I just sit. And
Wow.
sometimes I hear something, sometimes I see something, um,
Wow.
sometimes it's God has a message for me about it, and sometimes it's just, "Hey, I still have you." Like, sometimes
Wow.
it's just picturing myself still in his hand. And
Yeah.
in light of everything I've written, man, he is still my
Mm.
father, and he still
Wow.
loves me. And so I think like that just brings perspective to it. I think quieting ourselves and really being present in that moment, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of power in that. It's not like when you're just driving and you're like, "It's fine, he's got it," but you're still like death gripping the wheel.
Been there, done that.
Yes,
That is
and
do you
so
have
heavenly
that in
help.
is that one of your free guides too, what you just described? Because that is
No,
powerful.
it's
Okay, you're
not.
gonna whoever's
I
listening, you have to listen over to that. I may listen that's very similar to what I
well,
do,
I
but
have there's one
there
more
were
step at the end. I just don't
okay,
wanna
I'm
get too
sorry.
far away. No, I'm sorry because I got sidetracked.
No, I
Um,
love this.
but the last step is
Yeah,
sometimes I add this other minute into my 2 minutes of just
sure.
quiet time. Again, set the timer so you're not worried about, like, "Has it been 2 minutes? I don't know."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but this last minute, either I roll it into that quiet time and I'm asking God this question,
Mm,
or, if I have asked and I haven't felt like I really got an answer from it, then I'll pick it myself. But it's one small step that I can do that day. Like,
it's
what
good.
because movement creates momentum. And so every
Mm,
day it's what do I do? And honestly, this week, God asked me to spend my lunch break with him. He said,
so
just
good.
just pray with me, just sit with me in your lunch break
Mm,
today. And so I did. And you know what? Like I there were things that came up in my afternoon that like I really needed that time with God on my
mm.
lunch break that I didn't even know, but he knew.
That's so good. You're gonna have to listen to that over if you're listening. Rewind that part because I'm gonna rewind it. It's very similar, but I like some of the elements you added. And we're just talking about presence. We're not talking about the A, B, and C. So you would totally get that. Man, this has been so much fun. Wow.
I love being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, oh, your energy's great. I know when I saw you at one of those masterminds. We're in the same mastermind, by the way. No more dry ground with Michelle Tufford, and I'm like, oh, dear, that is like so. And I didn't realize, really, as a therapist, I totally get you, but you also have some techniques and some things that I think like I'll make sure you guys get linked to get some of these free resources because these are practical things. And then if you really need to go deeper, I'm sure there's a way to get in contact with Britt. I mean, wouldn't you want her as your therapist? Come on, guys. Uh, they're like, yes, me. Well, we have been listening to Britt Skinner. If you just kind of midway got in, she's a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. She specializes in anxiety, depression, and codependence. She helps clients understand how their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors connect all through a biblical lens so they can go from overwhelmed to anchored in peace. And I think you've gotten a lot of that in this interview. And I really appreciate you just letting us have your heart and just being so real. I just really appreciate you for sharing like you have.
Oh, Dee, I just really appreciate you having me on. And I know that your podcast is touching so many more people. And man,
Mm,
I can't help but think like one day we will get to be in heaven and see the impact that God
yes.
had us when he calls us into these roles. And I mean, I'm talking to each and every woman and man who is listening to this. Like he has a kingdom impact for you. If you're listening to this podcast, you're here because you have a voice and you want to get your message out, but you're stuck. And so don't be
Mm,
stuck anymore. Let's move forward.
mm.
Let's start chiseling away at the blocks that are causing you to be stuck because you have a kingdom purpose. And one day I just believe that we will be able to see the reach that God had because of our voice, because of our impact.
If you're on my podcast listening, you can't see my cat. He totally agrees. He's very attracted to anointed voices. Anyway, Britt, thank you so much. Oh, God bless you. I'm glad I get to connect with you on Michelle's No More Dry Ground. That's a blessing. And you've been listening to the Stuck No More Voices podcast. Be sure to check the download links for some of Britt's resources. Also, we have opened up our Stuck No More Voices Academy. And just to start places, a webinar, you sign up for the webinar and I'll give you a bonus video of 3 steps to start your podcast. So I hope you can check that out. And yeah, just thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you in the next episode of the Stuck No More Voices podcast. Say with me.